Hello, everyone. I'm Àlex Bartolí. I'm a marine biologist from Submon, which is an organization that works to preserve the marine biodiversity and also to reach a sustainable use of marine resources. I also work as an independent consultant, not only, but mostly with sharks in terms of policy and advocacy. What we are going to see today in this short presentation is the procedure that we had to follow to include the 3 species of angel sharks, Squatina squatina, Squatina oculata, and Squatina aculeata, inside of the list or the catalog, the Spanish catalog of threatened species. This was a procedure that took 3 years long, but don't be afraid, this is not normal. It's because we had to deal with some problems, mostly related with the political situation in Spain, at that time. But doesn't mean that a normal procedure like that has necessarily to take that long. So let me share the screen and we will start. Okay. So to start with, let me introduce a little bit of history, because the only protection that we had on angel sharks was from 2012 for a ministerial order that included the 3 species inside of the list of wild species under special protection, but just for the Mediterranean population. Let me explain that the list of wild species under special protection is not exactly the same that the catalog of threatened species, but both are linked. The only difference between them is from the species that are inside of the catalog of threatened species, the government has the obligation to create recovery plans. And when the species is inside of the list of wild species under special protection, there isn't that need. But at level of protection is exactly the same. In both lists, the species has absolutely full protection. But as I said, this protection for the 3 species of angel sharks was just created for the Mediterranean population. And as we know that the most important populations are in the Atlantic, especially in the Canary Islands, this was a situation that needs to be addressed. So this is the roadmap that you had to follow to include any species inside of the catalog of threatened species in Spain. So you have to, first of all, you have to present a proposal. This proposal can be presented by the technicians of the ministry directly, or can be presented by individuals or organizations. So in this technical memo, you have to include all the latest scientific information to explain why you think that this species has to be included in the catalog of threatened species. Once the technicians of the ministry are fine with the proposal, they send it to the Fauna and Flora Committee, which just met once a year. And it's constituted by different stakeholders, technicians from the ministry, but also different stakeholders from the different autonomous communities in Spain, mostly related with environment and fisheries. Once this Committee of Fauna and Flora approved this proposal, this starts the procedure to drafting a ministerial order, which has to go also to a public consultation and also to an amendments procedure. Once this process is finished, you have the final ministerial order approved that has to be published in the official bulletin to become law. That's the normal procedure to include species in the catalog of threatened species in Spain. So our journey starts in Canary Islands in June of 2016. I was invited for the people of the Angel Shark Project and the Shark Trust to a workshop that was held in the University of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria. And in this workshop, we were preparing or creating the Canary Islands Action Plan for angel sharks. And one of the conclusions that we that we arrived during this workshop was that we wanted also the Atlantic population protected. So we wanted to start again the procedure to include the 3 species inside of the catalog of threatened species. So from December to April of the same year, 2017, we created this technical memorandum with the latest information available, which has a lot of work because we did a very big technical memo, more than 100 pages, and we did different drafts, reviews, modifications, we create maps, we create tables, so it took a little bit, as I said, from December 2016, from April 2017, when we had this first technical memo ready and sent to the ministry. In May of the same year, I had a meeting with the technicians of the ministry to discuss the proposal, to explain them why and where and the different information from different sources, etc. And what they recommend to us, they suggested to try to adapt a little bit more the proposal to just the Spanish waters, because we did a very big memo, including lots of information from the Mediterranean, lots of information from the Atlantic, but they wanted something a little bit more concrete for the Spanish waters. So we start this rewriting process between May and June of the same year. And in June of 2017, we sent the second technical memo. And also we completed the information, sending also the strategy of Eastern Atlantic and Mediterranean for the conservation of angel sharks, that we were working on it during another workshop that we did in Bristol. And also we put together another document that we were working on at that time together with the Canary Islands government, which was a new regulation for the recreative activities inside of the special areas of conservation from Natura 2000 areas. We were including some provisions for angel sharks inside of this regulation. So as they were very well explained, the different special areas of conservation in Canary Islands, with the population explaining if there were nursery areas, etc., etc. We also accompanied the second technical memorandum with this information, the Eastern Atlantic and Mediterranean strategy, and the document for the special areas of conservation as a complementary information. And once the technicians were fine with our proposal, this information was sent to the different stakeholders from the different autonomous communities in Spain that had a decision inside of the Fauna and Flora Committee, just to prepare the meeting. But at the same month, in June of 2017, there was a motion of censure against the government, which started to delay a bit the things. In July of 2017, there was the meeting of the Fauna and Flora Committee, and they decided to delay the proposal because there was some problem with the data. For some autonomous communities, they say that they have more data about angel sharks, mostly from catches. And this took a little bit longer to double check this data and demonstrate that this data wasn't reliable, because from all of the other sources that we have, we didn't have any catch of angel sharks in the Mediterranean waters of Spain in the last 50 years. So at the end, this complementary data was rejected. And in November of 2017 was accepted the inclusion of the 3 species, but just the Canary Islands population in the catalog of threatened species in Spain. So once the Fauna and Flora Committee accepted the inclusion, started the procedure to create the ministerial order. So drafting the ministerial order, submit it in a public consultation, and then amendments procedure, which this process of amendments, draft, etc., could take 6 months long, approximately. And this started in January 2018. So in July of the same year, we were waiting for the publication, but nothing happened, and we asked again. And the problem was that the ministerial order was ready, but the ministerial order was not made just for angel sharks. There were another bunch of species that were to be included inside of the catalog, some of them terrestrial. And with some of these species, there were some problems. I don't know exactly why, because they didn't explain to us. But this created another delay, because the ministerial order has to go back, be reread, again, public consultation, and again, amendments procedure. This amendments procedure finished on December 2018. And then it has to be the order reread with including these amendments, and then be published in the official bulletin. But again, nothing happened. And in March of 2019, the government, which was ruling in minority in the parliament, loses its support, resigned, and convoked again new elections. So it again delayed all the procedure until in June of 2019, the population of these three species, Squatina squatina, Squatina oculata, and Squatina aculeata, the populations of the Canary Islands were included inside of the catalog of threatened species, obtaining the full protection that we wanted. And when this was listed in the official bulletin, this is the order that you have in front of you, it became law. So we had the three species protected in the Canary Islands. And I want to give you just a few tips in case that you want to try to do the same with your angel sharks in your country. Try to include them in your red list or in your threatened species list, if there is any in your countries. And there's just a few bullet points, very basic ones to start with. First of all, it's very important that you know your national legislation and procedures. So you have to know if there is a list, if there is a red list, what is the procedure to include some species in that list, who you need to talk in the government to have this ready. It's different in different countries. Sometimes it's very technical, like in Spain, or sometimes it's very straightforward, depending on the country, depending on the situation. Then the second point is also important. It's collect strong scientific arguments and create a memo or report. Even if it's not necessary in the procedure, it could be good for you to have all this information together to explain and to talk with the different stakeholders, politicians, technicians, whatever, so you can have information to send, information to review, information that has to contain the last possible information available. Then the next point is use an existing opportunity or create your own momentum. What does it mean? For example, an existing opportunity could be if you know that some species are prepared to go inside of a threatened list. So you can take profit of this opportunity and try to include the species that you want to do. How you can create your own momentum. For example, creating a workshop, creating an action plan for conservation, and then start pushing the situation, talk with the government, talk with the different technicians, and start creating the necessity of have these species listed. Then the next one is take profit of current international conventions and or regulations. For example, if you are from a country in the Mediterranean, for example, you know that the Barcelona Convention, the angel sharks are listed in the Annex 2, which creates a protection from the General Fisheries Commission from the Mediterranean. So this is something that you can use to try to convince your governments because there is already a protection that maybe could need to be strengthened, for example. Another one could be take profit and use resources from current initiatives as the Canary Islands Plan of Action, the Mediterranean Regional Action Plan, the Eastern Atlantic and Mediterranean Conservation Strategy, in this case, all created for the angel sharks. But if not, you can check different information from different species that maybe also could be helpful for you. But all of these resources are available and maybe could be helpful for you. And the last tip is go for it. Don't be afraid, because as I said at the beginning, we take 3 years, but because of different problems, mostly related with the governability, sorry, in our country, but not necessarily it has to be so hard. So go for it if you think that you have chances to do that. In this page, the Angel Shark Conservation Network, you can find some of the resources that I mentioned in the previous slide. So in this web page, you can find the strategy, the Eastern Atlantic and Mediterranean strategy, the Canary Islands Plan of Action, the regional plan of action for the Mediterranean, and also other information that maybe could be useful in case that you want to create your own proposal. And that's it. Thank you for your attention. I hope that this could be a little bit helpful, at least. And if you have some questions or whatever, I will try to answer them as soon as I can. So, bye-bye.